welcome back to a Business Today TV show.
Show number 29.
Oh, it's our new format. We're in chairs. Someone said to me last week, said, Michael, you've got to stop moving because these new leather chairs, you've got to squeak a little bit. There you go.
I'll sit still.
We took the choice and did it anyway. A couple of issues with some of the lighting flickering around a little bit. Hey, this is about taking actions and going for it. And I think one thing that we're going to talk about this week, as well as our guests coming on, our usuals with Mr. John Hughes, Helia Singh, Andrew Ford, Annemarie. Absolutely brilliant. Annemarie's in South Africa with mind skills. But we're actually going to be covering a topic each week in depth. And we've been asked this week, the topic, it was said, are you going to talk about that boring stuff, goal setting?
Maybe you should rebrand it to give it a different name.
We'll discuss that during the show. Well, welcome back to the show. I'm having to sit very still, Gerhard, because my chair squeaks, as I got told last week.
It was a choice to play it, and there was such good messages. I think people will forget about a squeaking chair.
I do too. Now, one of the emails we got, someone said, look, are you guys going to talk about goal setting? Because it's a bit of a boring subject and, you know, everyone's done it to death. And we said, I think it's been done to death in the traditional way. So we thought we'd tackle goal setting from something totally different. I haven't got a different name for it yet.
I think we'll get to it.
But we'll get to it. But goal setting, I think the problem is we tend to set goals we think other people will approve of.
And when you set our goals, for me, it's important to set a goal that's important for your client, what they need. We set the goal for ourselves, and sometimes I think we put so much emphasis on the money value and not so much on our client value.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point there. When you're looking at actually what the client wants, the client value is a really good idea. Now, one thing I will say, there is a traditional way of goal setting. You break it down. Now, you put a little bit of an extra, you put a double A in your SMART goals.
Yeah. Now, to be specific, you need to measure it, achievable, ambitious.
Yeah.
Okay. The reward and the time. If there's no time to a goal, it's not a goal.
Now, I have another thing with goal setting, and this is to do with matching them up with people I meet. And we're going to be discussing that a little bit later in the show. So that's going to be a little bit of a twist on goal setting. We're going to align goals to who you are going to meet. That's coming up. But first, Mr. John Hughes.
Well, no, it comes from discipline, and I got discipline from two sources. First of all, well, more than that, at home, of course, but my main source of discipline was Christian Brothers College in Fremantle. I was a good boy, and I still got the strap, and that didn't do me any harm in retrospect. And then I did national service. I did 3 months of national service at the age of 18, I think I was. I went in a boy, and 3 months later, I came out a man. So I applied discipline to myself, and I applied discipline to my staff. There's only 2 colour socks they're allowed to wear, black or dark grey. There's no facial hair, there's no jangling jewellery. They're not allowed to wear their sunglasses on top of their head. It's either there or in their pocket. I mean, it's small, but it's their principles. And my company philosophy is we are a friendly and efficient company trading with integrity and determined to give our customers the very best of service. Now that's on the back of everybody's business card, it's up on the wall, it's on the mechanics in the workshop. Everybody is clearly, there's no doubt, they are clearly, my company philosophy is totally structured and everybody understands it.
Now there's a man who sets goals.
and keep on setting goals. Even though he's in his 80s, he still set goals.
I remember and this is going to align with our little bit of a twist on goal setting, aligning your goals with the people you meet. And every time you ring John up, or ring any of our guests up, they'll say, okay, what's the purpose of the call? What is the outcome you're expecting? And how long is this going to take me? Because I haven't got time for idle chit-chat. How many of us in business are that direct with people we're going to meet.
And we all hear the phrase that time is money. So the more time you spend with somebody that's taking up your time, the more money you lose.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned from these people, especially with John and all the rest of them, and Helia, is this. You say, well, you want to know the outcome of this meeting. You know, what's this meeting about? What's the outcome that's going to be expected? How long will it take? Which is your timely you like to bring in. And what they're doing is they're assessing it against what they are trying to achieve. And if it matches what they're trying to achieve, you'll get the appointment.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, you won't.
Because I think it is always a win-win situation. So many times we go into a meeting or negotiations where it's a win-lose. But when you have a win-win, that is when things start to happen and action are taken.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at goals that you want to achieve, and you want to achieve them because it's going to benefit your clients, when you've got these meetings, it's not a coffee meeting for the sake of a coffee meeting. Before you have the meeting, why not ask those 3 questions? Hey, if we catch up for coffee, let's say we're going to catch up for coffee after this meeting, what would you want to get out of this? You know, what would you want to discuss? What would you get out of it? And how long do you think we should have the meeting for? And then decide whether that coffee meeting is going to be for you or not. I had one in the week and he said, well, meet the gentleman because he's going to be good in the future. And I said, then I'll meet him in the future. Here's somebody you want to meet right now. Andrew Ford. Hi, welcome back, and I'm here again with Andrew Ford from Ford & Doonan Air Conditioning and Express Fitness.
Yes,
Goodness
thank you,
me.
Michael. Glad to be back.
How's business going?
Really good, yeah, and both businesses are going really well.
Yeah.
The gym's back to pre-COVID membership numbers, and
Wow,
Yeah.
you did a lot on that. It's interesting because today we want to talk about goal setting and future planning. And a few people, when COVID came along, it's probably a good topic you've raised that, they pulled their heads in and went, oh, we better wait and see what happens. But you didn't. You went, let's make some plans and let's keep things moving.
seize the opportunity because, of course, with a 24-hour gym, it's very hard to do much sort of painting or decorating or refurbishing during normal hours or any time for that matter. So it gave us a great opportunity to refurb the place, give it a bit of a facelift, replaced a lot of equipment, but more so we were sort of estimating when we were likely to reopen and strategically started the marketing in a lead up to that in a structured campaign of sort of awareness and then before a call to action. So,
you know, when people talk about goal setting, and a few people shy away from it because, oh, it's boring, it's this. But I find that a lot of people don't do it because they perhaps don't know how to do it properly, or they haven't got a powerful enough motivator to make them do it. What keeps you at Ford & Doonan and Express Fitness still doing this goal setting, still doing this planning, and what is it about it, and how have you got your staff to buy into it?
it's a really good question. I think it's a key to why some businesses go particularly well and some just sort of are mediocre. I think it comes down largely to the owners of the business, or the directors. How much drive have they got in them, and what level of satisfaction are they at? Where personally, even after 35 years in the business, I still want the business to grow. So I'm just not satisfied sitting back going, okay, we're this size now and things are great. And it could be great too. We don't need to grow, but it's just that, I don't know, competitiveness I think that comes from within.
Do you think a few people, I don't know if you ever went through this yourself, maybe not because you're very competitive, but do you think people don't goal set because fear? Either fear they're going to be too successful in what people will think of them, or fear that they may fail?
I'm sure there's a lot of that element mixed in with it, Michael, yeah. As you said earlier, a lot of people probably don't know how to do it, and they think about it, it's more of a wish than a goal.
That's true.
Because obviously with goal setting, you set the goal, then you got to devise the path of how you're going to get there, not just say, I want to get to there, and then it's such a big gap, it's impossible, and that's why I think a lot of them fail too.
I think I've done a couple of them myself.
We all have. That question, yeah.
Yeah. What is it that, when you goal set, I just want to talk about fear of failure is probably something everyone's common with, but this fear that's out there, what will people think of me? Australia's famous for its tall poppy syndrome. So you've got two great businesses, and especially Ford & Doonan with the air conditioning, 35 years, must be number one in WA, just absolutely killing it. But Is there a fear of what people will think about? Did you go through that? Did you and Kyle go, oh, I don't know, we're getting too big, you know? What?
I can't say I ever did go through that, but along the same theory is that I also probably know I lost a lot of sort of people on my journey, that were friends that weren't necessarily. I've always been super conscious of never talking about, you know, the size of my business as in revenue, obviously not how much I make. I try to be as humble as I possibly can. But inevitably when you're talking to friends and over a barbecue, you might say, well, I've got a holiday coming up, and explain a bit about that holiday, and you're not even thinking how they may be interpreting it. So I definitely think some people have drifted out of my life because they're just feeling like we don't relate as much anymore. Maybe it's a little bit of jealousy, but also I think you just start to lose some of those commonness interests that they're going to Bali and I might have gone skiing in Japan or something like that. And they start to feel that divide, even though I've been very conscious not to try to fuel it.
Well, we're getting to my favourite, and that is the question of the week. But before we go, we are talking about goal setting, and we said about matching the meetings, the people you meet, to your goals. And I think this is really becomes important when you talk about these SMART goals, Gerhard.
I think if you use a SMART goal setting, like for example, S is for specific, the more specific you are, I think the more better you present to the person you're going to meet.
And a better assessment you can make.
Exactly.
When they say this is my objective of having a meeting, you can line the two together.
Yes. But let me just give you an example of specific. If you ask somebody, so how much turnover do you want? You know, then you say 100,000 a year. So is it 100,000, you know, profit in the bank?
Yeah.
Is it 100,000 turnover? Be specific. You want to say, I want 100,000 net profit in my bank account by the 31st of December. That's specific. And people can see, because if you say, I want to do 100,000, over how long? So I don't know if I can help you if you're so vague. So to be specific is really important, and to measure, by the end of the year, you go to your bank account, there's 100,000 net profit in your bank account, you can measure it.
So if someone was saying to you, I want to get more customers, your first question is?
How many?
On what type?
What type, exactly.
And so then if we're talking about matching goals, your goals with someone you're going to have a meeting with, because if that was a goal, that was a priority goal on your list, you're going to be saying, well, can they help me meet any customers?
Exactly.
What type of customers can they introduce me to? And based on that, you're getting quite ruthless.
Exactly, because we had a meeting last week with somebody. You spoke to them and they called me on Friday. And we were totally on the wrong frequency because I didn't know exactly what he wanted from me. And it was a 10-minute conversation of what doesn't matter because I don't know what you want. It wasn't specific and we couldn't measure it. So it was a waste of time.
Talking specific, you get very specific with our guests in your 60-second question. I know we've got it down there. In our new studio, we've got things moved around. What is your question of the week, Gerhard?
If a customer tells you no, how do you deal with that emotional rejection?
No, that's a hard one, isn't it? And I think my experience has changed from when I was very young dealing with it, and I took it so much more personally and was devastated at times, to now, if and when it happens, I sort of reflect on what went wrong. Why did it happen? Was there anything that I could have done differently, better? If there was, then learn from it. If there wasn't, say it wasn't meant to be, but compartmentalise it, move on and look for the next opportunity.
Wow, rejection is part of life. Without rejections, I'll see it as a feedback, because that means that either we are not a good match with that person, even though you may think that that potential client is going to bring a very good money or will be good for business, but to me it's a good feedback to say that maybe our energy level is not in the same. Right? And to me, if you look at the abundance, there is plenty clients out there. Everybody needs to find someone that they are in the same harmony.
Love those questions, Gerhard. I'm so glad I came up with the idea.
Yes, of course. Because I think as business owners, we're also human.
Yes.
And we put your heart and soul into something and somebody say, no.
I think this is where, and I think this is leading on to your other parts of your SMART goal, the the 2 A's that you tackle into this, especially the second one, but I'll let you just address them.
I think it's to be achievable. A lot of people will say, I want to have a $1 million turnover this year, and it's not achievable.
No.
But it also need to be ambitious.
Yeah.
Some people make their goals so low sometimes that you will get it easily. But if you know that you can do 100,000 easily, why just don't push it a little bit more to 110 maybe? Just a little bit more ambitious, because that way it takes you out of your comfort zone, and I think you innovate a little bit more.
Do you think, Gerhard, that this causes you to grow as a business, but you tend to start becoming more businessy, is that the right word, more businessy type person rather than just someone who, I was a tradesman who got into my first business because I was a tradesman. I just started doing it for other people. I changed, did it take from job to, hey, you're actually becoming a proper business person now?
It does, because when you have this achievable, ambitious thing in the back of your head, you work better with your money. Because if well, I made $100 more a year, am I going to take this and maybe go away for the weekend, or will I take this and maybe buy better equipment so I can do the next job faster or quicker? So you think more about your business when you're achievable and ambitious.
I'm laughing about what you're going to spend your money on because I'm Scottish, or part Scottish heritage still. We're quite tight. But then I met Gerhard. I went, I'm just loose with money. I tell you someone who's great with money though, and she helps people become financially confident, able to make money and for themselves. And that is our next very special guest, Miss Helia Singh. Well, we are back again with Helia Singh, a wealth coach extraordinaire. Helia, today we're going to be talking about goal setting and future planning, but I think people have been watching your YouTube channel. They're picking things up on that. I know the latest one is about willpower. Make sure you check that one out. That is extraordinarily good. But a question came back about financial confidence. And what's the difference between being financially confident and just making a lot of money?
All right, great question. First of all, I'll just tell people, do not confuse success, financial success, with happiness. That's completely two different things. We all have seen people who are way successful financially, but unfortunately they are not happy, and and even they ended up their life, or other dramas. But financial confidence is not about having a lot of money. It's about knowing that everything will be okay. It's about having other confidence in life, that like when you walk in the room, you know that you are okay. So no matter what happens, you are ready to face those problems and challenges and work through it. It doesn't mean there is no more challenges. If you think that's it, once you're successful, it's done, I've got a news for you. It just completely goes to a different level.
The reason I wanted to touch on that, because I think it does lend itself to goal setting. When you're working with your clients and being financially confident and building their wealth, but just as importantly, their happiness, it is tied to goal setting and continuing to goal set, but in a way of future planning. What's the next step that they want? Where do you start with somebody on that journey when they've just maybe in a bit of overwhelm, say they've just got themselves stuck?
Right. Well, I'm glad you used the word journey, because wealth creation is journey. And everybody who has reached any goals in their life, they already can vouch for that once you get to that goal, there is always another one. And it's not about being greedy. It's all about your confidence, your ability to create more, to even help other people. So it's not all about personal goals. But in terms of the confidence, or when in the journey, if somebody gets overwhelmed, I always tell people, no matter where the client is at, always go back to basic tools, and that is the wheel of life. When you feel overwhelmed, look at your life in every aspect of your life, whether it's your health, your wealth, relationship, your career, holiday, spirituality, whatever reason it is. Look at that and then see how they all are connected. And one of my favorite questions that I ask my clients usually is this, that if I had a magic wand and by just moving it around, I would have granted you 3 wishes right now, what are those 3 wishes in 3 different areas of life, not just all about money, money, money. And interestingly, whatever they say, I always tell them that, look, this obviously always wealth creation is one of them, but the other 2 are actually the most pressing problem in that time. And because of those 2 problems, the overwhelm even in creating wealth is happening.
Well, we're having lots of fun in the new studio, squeaky chairs and all, but never mind. I still keep glancing. If you see me glancing up, I'm just checking that the lights, we installed some new overhead lighting and we're not quite used to it yet. And I'm going, oh my God, the sound's different, the lighting's different.
Everything is different.
And I think this is a thing where you need to just push through these difficulties, if they were, and just go, look, they're just obstacles. Just move them out of the way. Just do it anyway and see what happens.
Well, that brings us to the last part of the SMART goal setting is the reward and time.
Yeah.
It's so important that if you get to your goal, that you reward yourself. If you have that spare $100 that I said about,
Yes.
maybe that's a good time to reward you, because if you reward yourself, you do it again. If you reward your staff, they will do it again, because on your own you can't do it. You need people that's stronger than you to help you to get where you need to be.
Yeah.
So when you reward people, they will say, well, let's do it again. And sometimes they don't trust the employee, and I've seen that before, because they will say, if we reach this goal, there will be, say for example, a meal for everybody. Then they get to the end of the month and they are like $5 short, and they say, well, we didn't reach budget, we're not going to do it. Then people don't start to trust you. When you reward people, even if you're just a little bit short, they will do it again, because they will push a little bit harder.
Yeah, add the $5 onto the next target and say, well, you owe me.
You know, Simon Sinek always say it's just a number. You know, if you reach your goal 2 days later, you still reach your goal. You know.
And that's probably the last thing of your SMART goals is the timing.
Exactly.
The timing, even though just because you didn't make it in that specific time slot, don't beat yourself up. You can extend it. You're in control.
And but if you extend your time by 2 weeks and you reach your goal, it's so good for everybody, because they will feel, well, we've worked hard, we made it.
We made it, yeah.
Where if you cut them short and say, sorry guys, we didn't make it, we have to do so much more next year to get to your goal, it's demotivating for people. So play with your time, but there need to be a time that you need to accomplish it in.
And I think that's a good point. You can put time limits on things, but I think having that flexibility in there, because as you said, if you reach it in 2 weeks' time, it's better than not reaching it ever. And I think that's where people say, oh, I'll never be able to do it. So then they don't even try.
They don't. And again, if you see you're not going to make it, you have a discussion and just move it on, but everybody knows the new time frame.
Exactly. And I think it's just playing, a lot of this stuff is just mind games, isn't it?
It's mind games, and I think that's where Annemarie is doing so well in South Africa, letting us help our listeners on mind skills and how to use your mind.
In this month's conversations, we are talking about finding the leader within. And in today's conversation specifically, I would like to talk to you about having a growth or a fixed mindset. I would like you to take a minute and to really just delve a little bit deeper into your decision making, into how you handle conflict and how you face your own fears. Because how you go about and interact with these things is also an indication of the mindset that you find yourself in. Recently, I had to make quite a big decision, and I was very stuck on a specific outcome. I was very attached to what I wanted. So much so that I ignored everything else. I ignored the pros and the cons of all the other alternatives and opportunities that there were. And it wasn't until my mentor asked me, what mindset are you currently in? When you are making this decision, what mindset are you in? I realized that I'm in a fixed mindset. And this is keeping me from information and from making the best decision that I can. Now, it's not a bad thing to be driven and to know what you want, but it is better to have a lot of information and to make a decision based on all the information at hand and not to ignore certain parts because you're not interested. Maya Angelou says, I learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. So the decision of openness starts with my thinking. It doesn't start with the environment. It starts with my thinking. It's my thinking that determines my outcomes. And when we look at neuroscience, we have two basic states. We have a lot of emotions, but we have two basic states that are based on perception. These states are the away state and the toward state. And it stems from hundreds of years ago when we were cavemen and cavewomen, and we either killed or we were killed. And this was the brain's way of protecting us and to ensure survival, is these two states. If something was, if the brain perceived something as being painful, it would want to protect you. So you would withdraw, or you would defend or attack. This is how you would show up nowadays in a conversation. You would distrust and not be keen to work together. You would first want to suss it out. On the other side, the other state is a toward state. So as soon as I perceive pleasure, I will go into a toward state. And I will literally open up, and in a conversation, I will co-create, I will innovate, I will be present, and I will trust people. And it's these two states that are very basic to the response of our brains. And these two states are based on my perception, which is my story and where I come from. It is also true that perception is very closely connected to mindset. And as soon as I operate from a place of fear, because I perceive pain, I will go into the away state, and I will most probably have a fixed mindset, because I'll have a mindset of right and wrong. I have it or I don't have it. I'll have a more limited and a more limiting mindset. On the other hand, as soon as I have an open mindset and I experience something as pleasant, I will go into a toward state, most probably have a growth mindset. And this is where I will see options and alternatives, and I will understand that there are opportunities for me to grow in these challenges. So it is so true that my perception is very closely connected to my mindset. And I want to ask you as a leader, how can you ensure that you stay very aware of the mindset that you're in, so that you can make sure that whenever you have to make decisions, handle conflict, face your fears, be a leader, that you are in the right mindset, in a mindset that will serve you? And my answer to that is being in a space that you have mindful attention awareness, which means here and now, which means that I'm not in the narrative of yesterday or of tomorrow, the past or the future. I am here. And it's only when I'm here that I will be able to respond to my environment, and that I will be able to be agile and make the right decisions. And it's only with this mindful attention awareness that I will be present enough to notice my mindset. Listen to this quote of Daniel Kahneman, the author of Thinking Fast and Slow. Odd as it may seem, I am my remembering self, and the experiencing self who does my living is a stranger to me. So my wish for you this week is that you are your experiencing self, that you will be extremely present, and that you will be mindful of the mindset that you find yourself in. And make sure that you're in the mindset that will serve you as a leader.
Well, I'm really enjoying the new format, Gerhard, having a bit of fun with it.
Me too, and I think for me is I learn so much from other people as well.
Yeah.
And especially with Andrew Ford and John Hughes, sometimes they say something that I knew that, but I forgot about it. And it just refreshed my mind again.
And then you've got Helia from the financial perspectives, and then you've got Annemarie with that mind skills that she's got and the mindset stuff coming through. And I really feel like it's equipping us all, me included, into getting to that next level that we want to do with our business.
But like with Helia, for me, it just came to realize is, what is my relationship with money?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have a relationship with money. What is your relationship with money? So now I've got something to think about. What is my relationship with money?
Yeah.
Yep.
It is really interesting. So in conclusion, when you're setting your goals, one of the biggest things you can have is then on your other column, go, who could I meet that'll help me achieve my goals? That's our little twist on goal setting. That becomes fun. That in itself becomes a challenge because unfortunately some people on that list you have to cross out.
Exactly. And if they call, to tell them, so I can't meet with you.
Yeah.
So you need to have the confidence to say that, unfortunately, I can't meet with you. Meet people that can get you to your goals, and you will get there faster.
Absolutely. Hope you've enjoyed the show. It's been absolute fun bringing it to you once again. We do have our very special segment we're going to go out with the show on. But until next week, it is goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Mine, I want your business. I'm prepared to pay for it. I stand behind every car I sell. Choose your dealer before you choose your car. Is it true? Absolutely. My reputation is your guarantee. They're all mine, but they get thrown back at me. Mr. Hughes, this was not in accordance with your company philosophy. So I paint myself into a corner, but I've done it on purpose. And as you know, I take all of my phone calls. Nobody ever gets asked who's calling, what is the nature of your business, what firm or organisation do you represent? The phone rings, I pick it up, and I get some pretty funny calls, but it keeps me very close to my business. I nearly went bankrupt probably about 5 or 6 years after I started initially, because I expanded too quickly and I delegated too loosely, and I'll never ever make that mistake again. So I'm here, I'm available, I talk to clients, I handle complaints, I sell cars, I am totally involved, and I keep my feet firmly on the ground. Lunch is a bowl of soup or a sandwich at the desk. Somebody came in the other day and said, oh, John, we must go out for lunch one day. I said, oh, really? So I said to my PA, I said, Jasmine, how long have you been working with me? She said, oh, John, about 5 years. I said, tell me, Jasmine, in all of that time, how many times have I been out for lunch? Never go out for. What do? You drive for 15, 20 minutes, you've got to park your car, you go in, you might even have a glass of wine or two, you go back to the office, say, huh, really, is that what you do? You waste an hour and a half? No. Just be there. Best advice I could give anyone running a business is simply be there and be available.